You have tuned in to Be the Voice podcast, where we are using our voices to shatter the silence by promoting healing from past trauma, aiming for victorious living, and uplifting the work to improve our communities. It's time to be informed, encouraged, and empowered with your favorite host, Dee Marie. Well, good evening and welcome to Be the Voice podcast. This is your host, Dee Marie. And here at Be the Voice podcast, we are here to shatter the silence by promoting healing from past trauma, aiming for victorious living, and uplifting those that are doing the work in the community. And be sure that you guys are going to be informed, encouraged, and empowered. So let's get started. As you can see, I am solo tonight. It's just me, your host, Dee Marie. Really excited about tonight. I'm always excited about the podcast because this is what I love to do. But really excited. Wanted to talk to you guys about some things that was on my heart. So I won't be before you long, as they say, but I do want to talk about some things. But before we get started, I want you to know that Be the Voice podcast is actually brought to you by Voices Magazine. And Voices Magazine is an online magazine that is tailored to the voices of sexual abuse survivors. And that's what Voices stands for, Voices of Sexual Abuse Survivors. And the magazine features stories from survivors that are willing to share. And they do that so that can be a support and encouragement to help others. And the stories are of victory, that they have overcome past trauma. And within the magazine, you will find Counselor's Corner, tips and safety, healthy living, and we spotlight organizations that are out here doing the work to improve our communities. So if you want a copy of that magazine, you want to go to vocesmagazine.com and you can read it. And if you're not a survivor and you're thinking like, you know what, that's not really for me, I beg to differ. The magazine is for everybody. So even if you're not a survivor, trust me, you will be informed, encouraged, and empowered. So let's get started tonight. So I'm really excited about tonight because I really wanted to encourage you all. My co-host will be back next week, Lil Tanya. We love, doing our duo, if you want to call it. But she'll be back next week. So tonight is just for me. So that's all good. But so I want to talk about chasing your dreams. Chasing your dreams. Now, if you follow me at all, you guys are probably sick of me talking about it, but I don't care. If you follow me at all, then you know the love I have for New York City. And that is kind of where this came from. New York is a great place. It's a great city. I love it. It's just once, we all have something that we love, and that's just a place that I love. But I wanted to encourage you all to chase your dreams. And the reason why I say that is because I felt like, and it might be small to you, and let me back up a little bit. So when I say chase your dreams, a lot of times I think we think of like humongous things that we want to do, but dreams can be big or they can be small. But whatever it is your dream. So chase it. So the reason why I even wanted to do this podcast is because I have been a dreamer my entire life. My entire life, ever since I was a kid, even I was really little, I always knew that there was something inside of me that God wanted me to do. I've known it since I was like 8 years old. I'll never forget, I was at home and I don't know what I was doing, playing or doing something, but I knew that there was something inside of me that was special. And I knew that whatever it was a gift. And I know that God was going to use me to do whatever, but I knew it had to do with talking. I didn't know that. And that was at 8 years old, but I knew it. So I've always been a dreamer my entire life. Always. So that's kind of good or bad, because being a dreamer or being a visionary. So I will also say I'm a visionary as well, because with a dreamer or a visionary, they see things like ahead of time. So for instance, I put on a walk, which we did, in my mind, I can see the walk. But the hard part is you can see where you want to be, but you're living in the now. You're living in reality. Okay. So because you're living in reality, it's kind of hard because you really want to get to the end part of the dream. You want to get to the final results. Okay. So with that, like I said, I have been a dreamer my entire life. and always wanted to do, not necessarily big things, but I've always, dreamt of doing things because I just love people. I love talking. I love doing that, and have always desired to always do something bigger. I never been satisfied. And I said that on last, I think the podcast before the last one, I said never being content. So I went to New York 2 weeks in a row. Okay, I went Saturday, oh my gosh, I can't even think of the dates. The 21st. Yes, I went Saturday the 21st, and then I went back that Friday the 27th. So Saturday the 21st, I went solo, and then I went back the 27th with my family. And I'm saying all this to say is that when I was younger, I would say probably as I got closer towards high school, well, a little bit past high school, probably when I was on my way to college, or maybe during high school, I wanted to be a journalist living in New York. Okay, so that was my heart's desire, to be a journalist living in New York. Now, unfortunately, well, I wouldn't say unfortunately, just life, life be life, and I actually ended up not doing that because, for one, I got married, had kids, and I got married very young. And then I had children and got divorced and ended up raising the kids. And just life happens. And it happens. And a lot of times is when life happens, you give up on those dreams. You give up on those desires because in your mind, you really don't have time to dream. All I had time was to raise these three kids. I have three children. So that was my time. I did not have time to dream and keep thinking about, what I, wanted to do, woulda, shoulda, coulda. I didn't have time for that. I had to move on. I had to survive, because I was raising these kids by myself and I had to make sure that they had things and how life is. And so I never thought anything more about being a journalist. And I did not finish school. So I went to school in Missouri State, but I did not finish because I fell in love and then didn't keep up with my grades, party too much, blah, 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 blah. So ended up going back home. And then shortly after that, I got married, had an entire family. Okay. And so I didn't finish school at that time. So, I really didn't think about being a journalist because in my mind is I just had to get a job that paid the bills. Now I was blessed to work at a great company and to have a good job. So, life was going on, but deep down in my heart, I still had those dreams. And I remember just a few years ago talking about, because I hadn't traveled to New York, and New York was the city that I fell in love with without even being there. Like the quote from Langston Hughes, he said, "I fell in love with Harlem before I ever got here." That's how I felt. I felt about New York City, but I actually do love Harlem as well. So I still had that desire to travel there. It's just that, at the time I just didn't have the resources. I didn't have the money. I didn't have, the time because I had to focus on, my family. And so, but the dream was still inside of me. And that's something that I want to say too, is because a lot of times we don't follow our dreams, but they're still inside of us and they don't go away. When it's truly something that it is in your heart, it doesn't go away. You know what I'm saying? And you'll constantly think about it and you'll say, you know what? That is a dream that I really want to do. But sometimes we will bury it because we don't think that it'll ever come true. So, you think, okay, that was just in my wildest dreams. You hear that phrase, in my wildest dreams. So you just kind of bury it and then you go on with life. So I didn't think that my dreams would ever come true. I'm not a journalist, but I'm going to get to that. So I didn't think my dreams would come true. Well, so I went to New York on the 21st. Now, okay, so let me back up. So I went to New York for the first time in 2021. And when I say it was everything that I could imagine it would be, it was everything that I imagined. It was so great. And I was like, oh my gosh, what I thought it was true. I was like, this is just the best city ever. We had the best time. Me and my family had the best time. Then we went back. I went back, I think I went back 4 times since then. So So we fell in love with this. So I was like, okay, every year I'm going to make sure that's going to be on my list to do. It'll just be my home away from home. So I'll just make sure I always go there because I love it so much. So I went on the 21st, and on the 21st, I went to Black Entrepreneurs Day, hosted by Damon John. And so um, it was so good. And it really gave me some insight on some things because I met new people. Like I said, I traveled solo that time. And I was a little nervous because I have done solo trips, but I had never been solo to New York. I mean, New York is such a big city and so much goes on that I was a little nervous. So I ended up going to New York by myself. And you guys, I had the absolute best time. The event that I went to was phenomenal. A lot of celebrities were there giving some great advice. And one thing that Whoopi Goldberg, she was there. One thing she said was, and I think I said this on the other podcast too, is don't be afraid to fail and perfect your craft. So when she said that, that kind of really, spoke to me as well. And then I was, just looking at them, I was like, okay, these are just people that decided to go for it. So, excuse me, I had a lot of great insight on things that they do, as being entrepreneurs or being actors, being music artists, gave a lot of great nuggets. And then after that, and it was at the Apollo Theater, so it was in Harlem. And then after that, we went out to eat, and it was really late, but we decided to go out to eat. Me and the people that I met there. So we went out to eat in Harlem, and this is so. This is when I say big or small, follow your dreams. So this was so small, but it was so big. So we went out to eat, and I was thinking like, oh my gosh, here I am in New York by myself, met new people. We went out to eat. It was like I was living my best New York life. You know what I'm saying? And it really awakened some things inside of me. And I was like, wow, never in a million years would I thought that I would be traveling here, doing all these things here. I'm with I'm a part of an organization there, and it was just so great. And I had never thought in a million years that me, because now as I was raising my kids, and I don't want it to sound like it was a bad point in my life because I don't like to think that, but it was hard. I struggled, financially struggled, and that's because I was raising 3 kids, and but I'll get back to that too. But that was a great time. So anyway, I struggled so much, and I never thought that I would be able to, travel to New York like I am now. And so even that small little bit of me going out to eat, when I say it was so great, okay, so great, because I felt like, oh my gosh, this is what I wanted to do. And I was with the New York Association of Black Journalists. I was with that organization. Okay. So I was like, okay, God has truly given me a love for this city. I don't know quite what it is yet, but I know that He has. And being with these people who have a love for journalism, who have a love for community, just like I do, was just so fantastic. I just was like, oh my gosh, it was just so great. So I came home on this high, just like so excited, about everything. And then we went back on the 27th with my family, just this past weekend. And it was great still. Okay. Had a great time with my kids, and we explored New York like we always do. And then we had a chance to go to the View. So we got tickets, and so we went that Monday to the View. And one thing that stuck out to me at the View was, so it was, Whoopi, Sunny, Anna, Sarah, and oh my gosh, I forget the other lady's name, but the other lady. So they were all at the table talking. And my thought was, these are people just like me. And I know we know that, but they're no different from me. They just followed their dreams. All they did was follow their dreams. So when I say that, what is inside of you that is your dream that you have not followed? And it doesn't have to be anything huge. It could be I want to knit a sweater. I want to start knitting. It doesn't have to be I'm in the public, I'm doing that and I'm on TV or whatever. It could be I want to start a knitting class. I want to do sewing. Whatever that dream is, what is it inside of you? Something that you're passionate about that you want to do, but you just either you're too scared to do it, you feel like you don't have time, you make up excuses, or no reason, you just haven't. But what is inside of you that you want to do, whatever it is? Because we see people who are living their dreams, and not to compare, because comparison is the thief of joy. So not comparing, but just, I always say it's a good thing to be around people that are doing more than you, or maybe doing something that you want to do. Maybe they are further along than you, or they might be a little, I don't want to say smarter, but they might have more knowledge than you have. Those are great people to be around because guess what? Now you're learning, and there's nothing wrong with learning. So when you see these people who inspire me, and it's like they're just like me, all they did was decided to go after it. So whatever it is that's in your heart, go after it. Because even the scripture says that God gives us the desires of our heart. Now, I don't necessarily think that like we have a desire and then God makes the desire come true. I believe he actually gives us those desires. And then once we really connect with him, those desires that he gave us, then they start coming out. And now we can really do those things that he has gifted us to do. Because we all have gifts, we all have talents, we all have things that we love to do, that we're passionate about. And a lot of those things are just inside of us. And all we need to do, like Whoopi said, is begin to do those things and start perfecting your craft. And that means that whatever your dream is, let me start looking at some YouTube videos. Let me start listening to some podcasts. Let me start, Googling and finding out how can I do this? How can I make this better? Who can I connect with? Who can tell me how to do whatever it is that I'm trying to do? But the dream is not going to go away just because you don't do it. You don't want to leave this earth pregnant, which means that you're still carrying whatever that baby is that God gave you. Whatever that gift, whatever that thing, whatever he gave you, you don't want to leave here and not do it. And honestly, if you truly think about it, you're not really going to be satisfied until you tap into that gift, because that is like, have you ever seen someone that like playing piano and they're just all into the piano and they're playing it and they kind of like zone out? They're in their gift. They're operating in that gift. They're operating in that calling. And it's just, they're so into it that they don't even realize there's anybody else around them. Because guess what? That is what's in their hearts. And that is what they love to do. And for me, traveling, and I'm not saying I'm quit my job or anything like that, but what I do know is that God gave me the gift to gab. So with that, like I said, I wanted to be a journalist, but I don't necessarily want to be a news journalist, but I knew for certain God wanted me to talk. I just didn't know that the topic he was going to give me was tied to my past. I had no idea that he would dig in, grab out that thing that I was going to. Isn't that something? Oh my Lord. Isn't that something? The thing that I swore that I would be silent about is the thing he gave me to talk about. Because he gave me the gift to gab. And he wanted me to shatter the silence. And that's the only way that I was going to be able to walk in my calling, was to dig in that thing that I did not even want to talk about. But he said, that's what you're going to talk about. Isn't that something? Oh my Lord, that just spoke to me. Like he literally dug up the silent part of me and said, let's shatter that. And it's here we are, shatter the silence. And that's the only reason why I even have this podcast. That's the only reason why I'm talking to you every day, is because I was connected to God, and he showed me the thing that, and honestly, I didn't know that that's what was going to push me into my gifts and push me into my calling. All I know is I was just going to tell my mom about, my sister and I being sexually abused as kids. Didn't know that because of that, now I have a magazine, Vosis Magazine. I'm doing a podcast, and I will always talk about my story. But that is my form of journalism. No, I'm not a journalist, but that is my form of being creative, of talking, of media. But God He gives us the desires of our heart, and He gave me that, not knowing that it was going to be a desire, but that's what it turned into being, is the desire to actually talk to people, talk to you all about my secret that I was going to keep silent. Yeah, that is so like deep, and God is so good. Like He will always do that. He is so good. And I had I was not even going to say anything to anybody about the sexual abuse. I didn't want to get in front of everybody and talk about something like that. But God said, that's what you're going to do. And that's what you're going to talk about. So I had to move forward. And another thing is I had to go through that healing process. So, and I'm not saying that your gifts or your talent is connected to trauma. It doesn't always have to be. But for me, it was. But in order for me to walk clear in my purpose, clear in my assignment, clear in my dreams, I had to do some healing. Because guess what? I would have got on this microphone and I would have bled on everybody that tuned in, and I could not do that. So, this is really speaking to me. Sometimes we say, and honestly, I didn't know I was even talk all about this, but the message is for me first, and then it's for you second. But I had to get into a healed place. And now that, and I'm not 100%, I think there's still things that we always have to work on. I do have a therapist, so there's things I always have to work on. But God allowed me to begin to live out my dreams once I said, okay, God, I will do what you told me to do. Now I can go ahead and live out these dreams. So being in New York, and I know, again, big or small, those 2 weeks in a row, never would I thought I would be there like one weekend and be right back the next weekend. I never would have thought that. But for me, that was something that was so big. And even though it's small, I know that it's going to turn into something amazing. I don't know what it is yet, but what I'm not going to do is give up on my dreams. I'm not going to give up on what God has called me to do. I'm not going to give up on wanting to continue to do the podcast, continue to do my magazine, and I'm going to perfect my craft. And sometimes it's baby steps, because do I get it right all the time? No. Have I messed up on my podcast? Yes. Did I mess up tonight? Yes. Have I messed up on magazine? Yes, because I want to do my magazine monthly, but it doesn't always come out monthly because it's just me doing it. And sometimes we have to connect with other people to help you. But chase your dreams, whatever it is, and don't give up. And just know that when you do it, you're not alone. For one, God is going to be with you. For two, if you can, find a strong support system. Now, that may not be your family, it may not be your friends, and that's okay. But there are groups, like for instance, I joined, I got a membership to the New York Association of Black Journalists. I didn't know anybody there, but I knew I wanted a connection in New York. And I knew that it was going to be because of my podcast. So I thought, how can I join that? And I found the organization, and I did, and I met them, and they're great people. And I'm like, wow. So look for organizations that are tied to whatever it is your gift is or whatever it is you want to do. There are groups on Facebook. There are groups you can Google groups, but find like-minded people, like-minded groups that is going to help support you in whatever it is that you want to do. Because it's easy. Okay, so yeah, we can go out and do things alone, but trust me, being alone and trying to isolate yourself to do all that becomes lonely. Okay, so look for groups. There are people out there that will they will root for you. They'll support you. They'll cheer you on, And again, it's not always your family and it's not always your friends. And it may start out being them, but as you go and begin to meet other people, you begin to be inspired and you see people who are out here doing it. And you're like, man, that's so inspiring. Not envy, inspiring. I love, one thing that I do love, I love watching people walk in their gift, walk in their calling. I think it is so great. There's nothing like it. So find those people that inspire you. Connect with them. Hey, how do you do that? I need some tips. Can you show me how to do that? Find who they are. Because guess what? There is room out here for everybody. Just because your dream or your gift is the same as someone else's doesn't mean that you can't do it. Who you reach will be different from who someone else reaches. So for instance, let's go back to knitting. Say that you want to start knitting. And whatever you're knitting, it might be to bless other people with the blanket. It might be to bless the pediatric center at the hospital with baby blankets. Whatever it is. But just because you see someone else doing it doesn't mean that you can't do it. So let's not be afraid of that. World out here is an entire world out here, and you're going to run into somebody doing the same thing you do. But the thing is, you are unique to you, and that person is unique to them. So don't be intimidated or don't be afraid, and don't compare. The gift that you have is the gift that you have. You know what I'm saying? God gave you that gift. He gave you that dream. He gave you that desire. So don't be afraid to step out and to do it. Chase your dreams. Chase your dreams. You guys, I'm excited about the rest of 2023. It's not over yet. This is November. We still got the rest of November and we got December. And guess what? It is never too late to start right now. You don't have to wait till Monday. You can start today and you can begin to think of those things that you want to do. Write it down. Get you a journal. Start writing down what you want to do. And shout out to Anita Almer. I know I've been shouting her out lately, but I was with her yesterday and just, getting some tips from her. Just, find people that are truly passionate about whatever they do. And that passion will ooze out and then you'll become encouraged. You'll become informed, encouraged, and empowered because you are watching people walk out their gift and not just walk it out, but excited to do it. So you guys, I just wanted to come on this evening just to say, chase your dreams and don't be afraid to do it. Do not be afraid to do it. I know sometimes it's scary because a lot of times when we think of chasing dreams, I think people think of entrepreneurship. Like, okay, well, if I chase my dreams, that means I have to quit my job. And that is absolutely far from the truth. Far from the truth. You do not. With my magazine and my podcast, I do it on the side. Will one day it blow up? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it will. I hope it does, but maybe it will. I don't know. But I'm still going to continue to do it. So don't feel like you got to quit in order to do whatever it is that you want to do. Don't quit. Just find time to do it. And if you feel like, well, I'm a parent and I can't do it now, guess what? Right now, if parenting is your job, do that. That is very important. And I say that because I think about my life, when I was raising my children. And for a long time, and I hope this resonates with somebody, but for a long time, I used to look back at that time as if it was a dark period of my life, and I say that because I struggle financially. I had to split myself in 3 ways to do this for the kids. I made mistake as a parent. My daughter's hair wasn't always combed. You know what I'm saying? And I think about those things, and I'm just being transparent, but I think about those things, and I used to think that that was a dark moment in my life until God arrested my attention. And what he said was, stop thinking about that as a bad time. Because you know what? We never went hungry. We always had a place to stay. He blessed me with my home. And he said he was with me the entire time. So it was not a dark time. So he told me, he said that to me so I can look at that. And I look at it differently now. I look at it as a time that he allowed me to raise these kids. So, I'm always a dreamer. So I'm always thinking about what I wanted to do. But during that time, God blessed me to raise these kids. And I have some amazing children. If you don't know my children, they are amazing. I'm not saying it because I'm their mom. And I made mistakes. So I truly know God was with me because he told me that. So, and I'm saying this to say, if you are a parent and you feel like, well, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing this, it's okay. Just parent your children because you know what you are doing? You're creating great children that are going to become great adults. And in due time and in your season, God will allow you to walk into whatever it is that you want to walk in. If there are some things that you want to do and you're a mom, and I'm saying single moms because I know there are a lot of single moms out there. I was one. But if you are thinking like, okay, but I really want to do this, begin to journal. That don't mean that you have to do it today. And if you feel like you don't have time, I think being with your kids and giving them those times and creating that life is, in my opinion, is a lot more important. I mean, I know you don't want to put yourself on the back burner because a lot of times as moms we do that. So I do think that you do need to take some time for yourself with self-care. I do believe in that. But if it's a dream that you want to do, begin to write it down. And then eventually, if you have time, start doing little things around the house or start making little things happen so that you can put yourself in a position where you can start living out your dreams. But like again, if you're a mom, don't feel bad that you can't do it because what you're doing right now is raising some amazing children that will become amazing adults because that's what we want. So I'm saying this to say, live out those dreams. Even if you have to do it a little bit later, that's fine too. But begin to write it down and don't let them die because in due time, in due season, God will bring that thing back up because he did it for me. He can do it for you. Even though I raised my kids, he allowed me to do that. And now they're amazing kids. Now is my time. And he's allowing me to look at my life and to look at the dreams that he put inside of me that are now beginning to come true. So you guys, again, I'm so excited. Whatever it is that is in your heart, whatever desires that you have, whatever dream that you have, I am so excited for you and I am rooting you on. I am proud of you. I want to encourage you and I want to let you know that you can do it. Don't give up. Do not give up. Keep it going. And trust me, if you just trust God, believe in your gift, perfect your craft, it can happen. And I'm so excited. I can't wait. And if you're in the comments, write down what it is that you want to do. I mean, you don't have to tell everybody, but just say, I have a dream. like Martin Luther King. But that you have a dream and that go ahead and just start today and just start writing some things down because you'll start getting excited. You know, when you see it on paper, you're like, oh my gosh. And then you start looking stuff up on YouTube. You start looking stuff up on Google. And then you start doing all this and you get so excited. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can finally begin to do this. So you guys, I'm so excited. Whatever it is that God has put in you, he's giving you these gifts. He's giving you these talents just so you can do things for him. So what I want to leave you with is 1 Corinthians 10:31. Whatever you do everything for the glory of God. All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much for always tuning in to Be the Voice podcast. I love you, and we'll be back next week. We'll have a great topic. My co-host, LaTanya, will be back, and we're going to have an amazing topic. I can't wait to be back. But again, I am Dee Marie, and I'm your host of Be the Voice podcast, and I will see you guys next week.